Hi everyone, I'm Erin. I am 23 years old and I have cystic fibrosis.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
I was diagnosed at 2 years old with double delta F508, which is my mutation of cystic fibrosis. I was adopted at birth, so my family had no idea what cystic fibrosis was. My birth mother's side of the family had no history of it, didn't know what it was either, didn't know they carried the mutation. I was diagnosed because I kept walking around and I would just stop and I'd lay down and go to sleep. And everyone at first thought, oh, this is really cute, Erin's just really tired. Well, then it was concerning because I would just do it randomly. And there was no signs I had cystic fibrosis. My weight was great. I was actually a really, really fat child, huge stomach. I actually think because of all those years of not having my digestive enzymes, I still have that Buddha belly now, CF tummy. So my weight was great, my height was great, everything was looking good. My pediatrician at the time did the sweat test. I think my mom said something like 3 to 6 times because she just didn't believe the results because I was so healthy. So I was diagnosed with double pneumonia, which is why I kept falling asleep. My oxygen was in the 80s and I was not blue, which was another surprise. They said with my oxygen being that low, I should have been, blue. I got admitted in my hometown and then I had to see specialists, obviously. Where I live, I have never been closer to a clinic than about 8 hours. So I've always had to drive to clinic. It's just a part of my normal and I accept it. So that's kind of about how I was diagnosed. I was very fortunate to be healthy through my childhood. I was admitted once in 3rd grade for IV antibiotics through a PICC line in my arm, and I did them at home and I was fine. In high school, that was when my health really took a decline. My freshman year, I got admitted to the hospital and they did tests on my sputum, mucus in my lungs, and I was diagnosed with something called Mycobacterium abscessus. We call it MAC, M-A-C for short, so I call it my MAC infection. I went on treatment for over a year of IVs almost. I think it was about 10 or 11 months of IVs. And then I also had to do an additional inhaled antibiotic, which was amikacin, and then Zithromax a couple times a week, I think 3 or 4 times a week. And there was another drug they wanted me to do, but because of the risks of liver damage, eye damage, and a couple other things, we all decided not to do it. I tested negative for MAC, and I had to stay on the inhaled amikacin and Zithromax, which was just a pill, for a year after I tested negative. I was in and out of the hospital all through high school. I missed more of my high school days than I was there. I had an amended schedule where I'd only go in the mornings or the afternoons. I did online classes, but I graduated with my class. Then I was going to college, so I tested negative for MAC my freshman year, so I started college in August. In October, I was so sick. I had my own personal dorm room because of my medical disability. I was allowed to get that. And I got my own bathroom as well. So if anyone's going to college, you should look into that. And it was really hard because I was feeling like I should have been better and I was sick. My new CF doctor was a very, very nice man. Unfortunately, I didn't receive the quality of care I needed at that clinic. I had to fight to get retested for MAC about, I think, my sophomore year of college, and it came back positive. And I was just devastated. I mean, I had thought I'd gotten rid of this bug. I spent, years, literally years, trying to get rid of it, and it was back. Well, he wasn't too worried about it because my lung function was good. So I went all through college and everything was fine and dandy. I was off of IVs for almost 3 years, I think. And so after my freshman year, I did them again in April and then I was done. My last year of college, so I graduated early, and my junior year, I got done with college and I went to start an internship. About like 2 weeks into the internship, I started getting horrific pain here in my lower right, or my upper right quadrant, sorry. And I couldn't eat, I couldn't drive. And, my CF doctor, we weren't really doing anything other than PFTs, and that was it. No chest x-rays, really no medication changes, really no anything. So I kept telling him, something's not right, something's not right. And he was like, well, you're fine. I ended up going into emergency surgery to get my gallbladder removed. I was chronically nauseous during this whole time, and I had to stop driving. The gallbladder removal helped immensely with the pain, but I was still very, very nauseous. And then the worst part of this was my vision went. So to this day, I still have visual snow, which basically everything looks fuzzy, snowy, like an old TV. So I couldn't drive, and I was so nauseous, and I cried all the time. I can honestly say I'd never been as depressed as I was. It was horrible. I went back and I did my final semester of college. I don't know how. I was there for a week and I had horrific, horrific stomach pain, and I couldn't go to the hospital. I couldn't drive myself. What ended up happening was I stayed awake and called my parents. They were across the country. My aunt came the next morning to pick me up and bring me to the hospital. I went to the hospital and they said my appendix was very inflamed, but so was my colon. At this point, I was still nauseous. I could not drink the contrast, so they did their best. And they said, well, it looks like you have colitis. Here's some antibiotics. If it's still bad, come back tomorrow. That night, I started passing blood. So I was bleeding. My colon was bleeding. I was bleeding internally. And so my aunt took me back to the hospital the next morning, and they admitted me, and I was diagnosed with C. diff, which can happen when you have surgery or you're on antibiotics. You can get it. And I received antibiotics via IV, just a dose or two of them when I got my gallbladder removed. So on top of all of this, now I had this C. diff. So I was out of class for a month. My last semester, I somehow managed to go back, and I couldn't go every day, but my professors were amazing, and I graduated in December, a semester early. And it was at that point, my CF doctor just wasn't taking me seriously, and I decided to transfer to Mayo Clinic. I went to Mayo Clinic, and I think I actually cried after my first day appointments because, people finally believed me. They finally believed all my symptoms, and they did all these tests, months of tests. I ended up having my appendix out, emergency surgery. And I remember waking up from that surgery and looking at my parents and just going, I feel so much better. I was amazed by how much better I felt. From there, things only went up. I was diagnosed with SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It's a mouthful. And I did some antibiotics for that, got that cleared up. And then I got into an ENT, and she did the CT scan. And for years, I'd been telling my CF doctor at my old clinic, like, I think I need sinus surgery. I don't feel right. I'm having headaches every day. So she did the CT scan, and she basically told me I had some of the worst sinuses that she'd seen. My sinuses, every single one, I think she said there's 8 of them. I could be wrong on that, but there's a lot of sinuses. Here, 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 and then there's one back in your head. Every single one was 100% blocked. One of them was 99% blocked with a very, very, very small air pouch in it. So anyways, had surgery for that. I've now had 4 sinus surgeries. I had a major one, which was my last one, where we took out a bunch of bone up here. We cut out a bunch of the, I don't really know what you call it, the stuff in there to make huge holes. Other than that, I am doing pretty well now. My dream has always been to move out west, and I'm filming this less than a week after I moved out here. So I am following my dreams. I am doing it. I'm going back to law school this fall. I am doing everything I want to do. Find doctors who believe you. If your doctor doesn't believe you, find a new one. And I know that's hard. But if I wouldn't have found doctors who believe me, I wouldn't be here. I firmly believe that. I would be just very sick. And I am so thankful. Mom and Dad, if you watch this, I'm so thankful for you, because you need advocates in your corner. And when I couldn't advocate for myself, my parents helped advocate for me. And I am getting amazing care now. And you know, it's just night and day from where I was. So sorry for the tears, but that's where I'm at. And I'm hopefully gonna be a lawyer in a couple years. I'm gonna do another video for Staying Salty's channel if you guys wanna check that out. I am going to be talking about an experimental treatment for Mycobacterium abscessus that I am on called GMCSF, and why I am a very special case for that treatment. I'm also going to be talking about a couple of other things, how I'm not the typical double delta F508 patient. And you know, it's going to be a fun video. So head on over to my next video if you want to see more and learn more about me. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I will put my little tag either here too. I'm always open if anybody wants to message me or talk. And this is all about me. So thank you guys, and see you in the next video.